thanks so much for joining us here for this live event. We are really kind of breaking down all of the excessive heat that's once again returning to the Pacific Northwest and also diving deeper into that fire potential that still remains here across the Pacific Northwest. Thanks so much for joining us on this KOIN Now edition. I'm meteorologist Josh Cozart. Let's go ahead and dive right into it because we've got a lot to unpack, especially as we talk about the excessive heat once again returning to the Pacific Northwest. We've already got a lot of active fires burning across our area. These are just a few of them. You'll notice they are primarily east of the Cascades. That's good news, at least for those of us living here along the I-5 corridor, but less than ideal is that's kind of the driest and the hottest spot across the Pacific Northwest that we expect to experience over the next several days, moving into Friday through the weekend and even into Monday. So something that we have to be extremely cautious about. And these fires also going to be playing a role for those of us here living along the I-5 corridor, along the coastline, as wildfire smoke still remains a potential. These are just a few of the satellite images from GOES 18 West, able to actually pick up on some of this wildfire activity even from space. Just incredible views of the lightning strikes that moved through our area, prompting a lot of those fires to be burning out towards the central regions of the Cascades. This is just to the east of the Eugene-Springfield area, out towards the Oak Ridge area, all producing a lot of wildfire smoke. And that wildfire smoke has the potential to push its way into our area. You can see the image right below me. That's a view of Mount Hood from the Vancouver waterfront, thanks to the Hotel Indigo Kirkland tower camera for giving us that very hazy view. And that's going to be sites that we continue to see not only into Friday, but really starting to ramp up here through the I-5 corridor as we work our way into Saturday as well. And that just so happens to be when a lot of folks are going to be outside for the Portland Pride festivities. So just something to be mindful of if you do have to spend a prolonged amount of time. But we do have those level 3 evacuation go now orders. You can get the latest information at KOIN.com. That's where the latest maps will be shown. But it's just to the south of the Pendleton area, so out towards the eastern sections of the state of Oregon. That's where we expect to see those wind gusts really start to ramp up later this evening, peaking maybe with some gusts close to 30 miles per hour by the next hour to 2 hours, 9, 10 o'clock or so. And those are going to be westerly winds. They transition then, pushing the wildfire smoke in a new direction, potentially burning the fire in a new direction. So fire crews really keeping a close eye on this, especially as those southerly winds could potentially push the fire further north. I'm sure that a lot of the fire crews are really kind of creating that barrier to prevent it from moving closer to the Pendleton area. But nonetheless, those winds will slowly start to die off by about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, nearing about 5 to 10 miles per hour. So that's something that we are keeping a very watchful eye on as we work our way really through the next several hours for that potential for the wildfire activity to start to ramp up. It's been toasty out there, even at this point in time. These are our current temperatures, really kind of climbing up into the upper 80s. We managed to touch 90 degrees here in the Portland, Vancouver metro area, but even at this hour, still feeling the summer sizzle, especially out towards the east with those current temperatures in towards the mid 90s. Now, here's something interesting. The heat, it just continues for us, especially out towards the eastern, northeastern sections of Oregon, also out towards eastern Washington. This gets underway Saturday. Takes us into Sunday, even into Monday. It's not until the evening hours that we see these heat alerts, excessive heat warnings, heat advisories, overall just dangerously hot temperatures come to an end where we could potentially be talking about triple-digit numbers once again falling on our map as we work our way into the next several days for us. Now, this is compiled on top of the drought situation that we are still dealing with here across the Pacific Northwest, something that we are keeping a very close eye on as we have that potential really for it to become more expansive. You'll notice that in towards the central and south central regions of the state, really kind of seeing the moderate drought runs once again return. So the I-5 corridor, the Willamette Valley, the Portland, Vancouver metro area falling back under abnormally dry conditions. That is less than ideal for us as we expect to still hold on to that potential for it to become more widespread. These are always updated every single Thursday for us, and having the potential to worsen as the rain-free skies still remain. So a lot to unpack here with those hot, dry conditions continuing to increase that wildfire threat. A bit of a view at some of those daytime high temperatures that we saw earlier in the day, climbing up into about the 90-degree zone for the Portland metro area. and really seeing those triple digits out towards the east. So Hermiston at 101, Pasco, Southeast Washington 104, Pendleton approaching that century mark, and still seeing those temperatures on the warmer side along the coastline. Now, just to put it all into perspective, on average, Portland should be seeing our temperatures this time of year right around 83 degrees, so well above the average for us as we continue to see the heat build. Now, our current air quality is at the good level, at least through the I-5 corridor. We could potentially see some of that really kind of pull back over the next several hours, but then that moderate air quality that's out towards the east, potentially swaying and sloshing back and forth, moving back into the Willamette Valley as we move our way into the next several days. So these are the high elevation levels of the atmosphere, so not likely going to be picking up on anything like what we experienced back in 2020, but nonetheless, it's definitely going to be a dire situation where the smoke will be thick and potentially harmful out east. But you'll notice it starts to push its way closer to the I-5 corridor. Not likely going to be impacting our air quality too significantly, maybe falling back to the moderate category. Of course, you can stay with KOIN 6 News to get that latest information. But by the time we get into Saturday, that's where those hazy skies will likely close in on much of the I-5 corridor, just in time for a lot of the Portland Pride festivities. Now, this is coming off the heels of 21 days of rain-free skies here in the Portland metro area. We last picked up at only 1/100th of an inch of moisture back on June 27th, and for the month of July itself, seen no measurable rainfall. Again, we like to bring things into perspective for us. The month of July, typically our driest month of the year, but we should see about a half inch of rain, well below the average. We would like to see the return of some moisture once again, but that's just not in the cards over the next 7 days or so, helping to kind of worsen our drought scenario. Just last week, the center image you can see there, not necessarily as widespread, but the moderate drought started to creep its way back into our area, becoming more widespread for the south central regions. But compared to last year, that's where we saw severe drought over parts of the Cascades, the central regions of the Beaver State. But everything kind of evens out. Although we're not as bad as what we were this time last year, it's worse in the sense that we saw a very wet month of June. And that really helped a lot of our lush foliage to really grow exponentially. And then the rain shut off. Things started to dry out. Things started to heat up. So that means there was all this potential fuel for the fires, really, to potentially spread rapidly through this dry landscape as those temperatures continue to warm up. So although the drought looks better than what it was last year, maybe we're equaling out with that potential threat. And you can see that here with our fire weather danger potentially increasing for tomorrow afternoon. Right now, relatively low. And again, the I-5 corridor steering clear of some of the worst of the conditions, but nonetheless still staying relatively on the high side. Again, if you're just now joining us live on TikTok or Facebook, KOIN.com, any of these avenues, YouTube, be sure to ask your comments and questions below, and we'll try to get those answered for you right here on this live edition of KOIN Now, as the excessive heat once again builds. But at least our futurecast really kind of demonstrating that we are expecting to see those temperatures really stay on the warm side because of the sunshine that we'll be experiencing. A bit of that marine layer will start to push its way back on shore for us, just as far as that threat goes. But we are expecting to see a little bit of that marine layer waver in and out to maybe bring a light drizzle along the coast. I think at best we'll be able to see that, but it's just dries up on for the I-5 corridor. The Cascades points eastward, not only Friday, but into Saturday. Saturday likely going to be the peak of this latest round of excessive heat returning to much of our area. Again, that perspective of everything. Typically, we should be seeing those temperatures in towards the low 80s in many cases. That's not going to be the case for us as we move through the next several days. Back up into the mid-90s for Saturday. That's going to be the peak of everything. And then falling back into the upper 80s, I should say, on Sunday. We long for the 70s, I think many of us do, as we do fall to the low 80s come Monday. That will almost feel a bit like a cold snap for us because it has just been so excessively hot as of late. But at least tonight here in the city, 62 degrees, all is calm, quiet, and clear for the Portland metro area. Much of the I-5 corridor, a few clouds are already pushing their way into the coastline. I can pull up the seaside camera just below us here, and you can kind of see that marine layer pushing its way back on shore. Just love the images, live images right here of all of that cloud coverage moving its way back in. And while we had some sunshine out along the coast earlier in the day in places like Lincoln City, that's the live view right now. The marine layer definitely finding its way back on shores. The sunshine is in abundance across much of the Vancouver and Portland area, but the hazy skies, they definitely still remain. So overall, we will stay on the clear side through the I-5 corridor as those temperatures slide back to the low 60s. Tomorrow, back up into the 90s we go. The haze is going to stick around, very similar to what you see below on your screen, but potentially becoming a little bit more widespread as we work our way into tomorrow. Now let's talk about Portland Pride. That's right on the horizon for us. Expecting to see those temperatures back up into the mid-90s for Saturday. It's all along the Tom McCall waterfront. You can see in the image below, not a lot happening in the form of shade from the building, especially during the peak heat of the day, so you will feel the 95-degree temperature. But then a few more clouds, they move into the mix for Sunday, and that just so happens to be when the Portland Pride Parade is. So that's where we expect to see a lot of those temperatures warm up, yes, but at least for the start of the parade on the cooler side, mid-upper 70s. By lunchtime, the parade likely starting to wrap up around 1, 2 o'clock or so. That's when we get back up into the low to mid-80s. So it will be warm out there. We'll see decreasing clouds, more sunshine, so keep that sunscreen close at hand as we move through the next several days. Now, our 7-day forecast, we'll go ahead and take this full, give you the big picture of everything here. That's where we are seeing our temperatures get back up. Again, peaking on Saturday, mid-90s for us, 80s for Sunday, and then we cool things back finally into those low 80s for us as we work our way through the next several days. So that is the good news for us. Finally seeing a break from the excessive heat as we once again return to what we should be for the middle and now eventually the end of July. Time is just flying by for us here as we're having fun in the summer sun as of late. So these are going to be temperatures that just continue to stay persistent for us. Of course, you can get all of the latest information by going to KOIN.com. We've also got a great map that's pulled up right here. This is kind of the zone where you might be at greatest risk of wildfire activity. Our very own John it's putting together this information. So a great read through, a great visualization of exactly where the potential for wildfires is. So that's going to be of great use for you, and also getting the latest information out as we continue to see the excessive heat once again return to the Pacific Northwest. So it's going to be hot here for the next few days, but we are expecting to see a bit of a turn in the tide as far as the temperatures go. A few more clouds Sunday into Monday. So that will do it for this KOIN Now live edition. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you stay cool as the weekend approaches. And again, keep up to date with the latest information right here with KOIN 6 News online and on air starting at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock tonight.